Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and right alongside here every week is, of course, none other than LPGA professional Cindy Miller. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning.
And I know you were just telling me you've got a little bit of cold today, so forgive her. She's a little bit under weather, but as a true champion, she's here this morning to do her task, and I appreciate doing that, Cindy. I know it's very easy when you're not feeling that great.
I'm okay.
I know
the weather is changing in Buffalo.
Yeah,
it's not always 75 and sunny.
No, I was just about to rub it into Cindy. It's I think going to be a high of about 85 today here in Florida, so not to rub it in. But anyway, Cindy, before we start, let me just remind everybody. Of course, we are live Tuesday mornings, unless otherwise indicated, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And quickest way to get us is go to blogtalkradio.com and type in Women of Golf up the search key, and that'll bring you to our main page. And, of course, on Tuesday mornings during the live broadcast, the broadcast that is currently being featured is always at the top of the page. And if for some reason you can't join us, just after the show, go down and scroll down into the on-demand section. You can listen to any of the episodes, broadcasts from earlier dates that you may have missed. And always glad that you can join us. Also, the broadcast is available for download in iTunes. So if you go to the podcast section in iTunes.com, again, type Women of Golf up in the search key, and that will bring you again to the page in iTunes, and you can scroll through and pick up any of the broadcasts from earlier dates that you may have missed. But we're glad that you joined us this morning. Also, anytime during the live broadcast, if you want to speak to either Cindy or I, you can do so by calling in at area code 347-945-5855. Also, any questions or comments about the program, you can email womenofgolf@gmail.com. Also, if you're in the golf profession and you feel that you have something you'd like to share with Cindy and my audience, always glad to hear from you. Reach out to Cindy at cindymillergolf.com. And while you're at Cindy's website, cindymillergolf.com, make sure you check out all of the great resources that she has. Fantastic, not only a fantastic player, but a great teacher professional and a true asset to the game. So make sure you check out cindymillergolf.com. Or you can also email me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out my other show on Thursday evenings, Golf Talk Live, and that's, of course, on blogtalkradio.com as well. So you can check out both programs while you're surfing around over the Internet. Got a great show for you this morning. We're going to start off here first. Talk a little bit about the Solheim Cup, just a few things, Cindy and I, and then a little bit later we're going to be joined by LPGA professional Tina Toombs, who's going to be joining us here in about 25, 30 minutes. So stick around for the show. You're going to enjoy that. Cindy, as I mentioned to you off air, obviously we don't have time to go over all of the highlights on this weekend's Solheim Cup. But first off, congratulations to Team USA for pulling out a victory, closing out on Sunday with 14.5 points to 13.5 against their European counterpart. So congratulations, lady. Well earned. And congratulations, of course, the team captain, Julie Inkster, did a fantastic job, I think. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. She's
and I'm sure Julie's a great player. I've followed her career for many, many years, and just a true grinder of the game, and just a true professional in this sport. But I wanted to talk just a little bit about Cindy, if we could. Obviously, I'd be remiss if we didn't bring this up because it's literally been all over the wire. But on Sunday, of course, there was some controversy with Suzanne Pedersen. And just for those of you that were maybe living in a box during that time and aren't sure what the controversy was, basically what happened was on Sunday on the 17th green, Allison Lee, of course, picked up her ball. Of course, being on, was on Team USA, and they were in a 4-ball match, and she picked up her ball under the premise that she thought she had heard one of her European counterparts tell her that it was good. As it turned out, Suzanne Pettersson objected and said that she did not give her the okay to pick up the ball, and neither supposedly did her teammate, and created quite a firestorm on social media. So, and a lot of blowback for Suzanne Pettersson. There was a lot on Twitter and other social media, as I said. Really created a firestorm on social media. But she did, of course, later come on and apologize. And I'm just going to read very quickly what she did add here on her comments. And as I said, it was basically she was trying her hardest for her team and put the single match and the point that could earn a head of sportsmanship in the game of golf itself. I feel like I let my team down. She further went on to say, I have learned a valuable lesson about why it is truly important in this great game. And really, that certainly shows a lot of honor on her part to be able to do that, because it's not easy when you get caught up in something like this. But Cindy, I wanted to ask you something. What goes through, do you think, a player's mind when you kind of get caught up in something like that? I mean, it's you're under pressure from the matches, and you just sometimes get caught up in the moment. What do you think goes through some of the players' minds when they're in a situation like this?
Well, if we relook at the facts, she says she did not give the putt. And if she did not give the putt, then the girl should not have picked the ball up.
Right.
The body language of everyone was walking off the green.
Yeah.
So I can see where there would be confusion.
Right.
I can see both sides of the story. I believe that Suzanne Pettersson, probably should have just stood there and waited, because Jenny Lee was like, okay, everybody just picked up and went.
Yeah.
So it's just a shame. Suzanne Pettersson is a high D personality. She's driven, determined, bossy, competitive, wants to win. You can see it in her eyes. I think the whole situation is unfortunate. On the other hand, I think it's really fortunate because it's done a great thing for women's golf, because we're all over the news. I think Suzanne Pettersson's reputation is marred, and I think she knows it, and I think that's why she apologized. It's unfortunate, but to be honest with you, I mean, if she didn't say it was good, Jenny should have stopped and waited and said, is it good? And that could be her inexperience, if you will. Yeah. And Jenny's partner, I don't even know who the partner was, do you?
Hull. I think it was Hull.
No, that was Suzanne's partner.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me just see here. I'm trying to remember who it was. Yeah, that was Charlie Hull. Brittany Lincecum.
She should have said, wait,
Now, in a situation like that, just for those that don't know, once the ball's been picked up and she's, walking off the green, there's no way to recover from that, is there? I mean, you can't come back and say, well, I thought I heard this, and then replace the ball and continue on.
Well, that's what she said, but no, because your competitor owns your ball.
Okay.
So if she didn't say it was good, it wasn't good, and because she picked it up, they lost the hole.
Okay.
And that's what happened. They lost the hole. Now, unfortunately, the U.S. team, I'm not going to say that that's the only thing that motivated them to win, because there were all other, a whole ton of other reasons. But it was just unfortunate or fortunate, whichever way you want to look at it. And it's a good thing that Suzanne Pettersson apologized, because this is going to stay with her a long time.
And how do you think a player like Suzanne recovers from that? I mean, obviously she's issued an apology, which is certainly going to help. But as you said, this is going to go on for a long time. She's going to be, for a while anyway, she's going to be remembered for this moment because the Solheim Cup matches are such a big draw internationally with fans and that. This is something that she's going to be remembered for a long time. So how does she move past it? How does she let it not take root and move past this and continue on with her career?
Well, I think, definitely they're going to bring it up at the next Solheim Cup once the wind settles.
Right.
This will be talked about every time there's a Solheim Cup for sure. It will be brought up. I believe that, she's going to defend herself, which, I can understand. If she did not say it's good, it doesn't matter what her body language is. So there's lessons for both sides. The lesson for the American side is wait to hear if it's good. Do not touch your golf ball.
Yeah, and or confirm it. If you're not sure, then confirm it with the other side and say, did you say it's good or not? As you indicated earlier, because you're right. I mean, there's some issues on both sides. The U.S. team should have certainly made sure, and that's really where, as you said, her partner Brittany could have sort of stepped up and say, "Hold on, don't touch it. Let's make sure." But again, you're not thinking. You think that something has happened, and actually, from what I read in some of the reports, Suzanne's partner actually started walking off the green as well. So I think this
everybody
is why
walked off the green.
Right,
so the body language was such that that's good. Pick it up, because no one stood there to watch her putt, and that's what I think Laura Davies.
Yes.
she was disgusted with Suzanne as well. The catch is Suzanne is known for being a pit bull.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yeah, and so how does the something like your match play in a Solheim Cup, how does that compare pressure wise, and how much of a toll mentally does it take on players compared to, let's say, a regular tournament or even a major championship? How does it compare? Is it a higher threshold of mental stress and mental toughness required to?
Well, absolutely. You're representing your country. I mean, people that never go to an event travel across, the ocean to watch the Solheim Cup or the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup. It's a big, big deal because people want to watch it. The hype, the crowds. It's very, very difficult. You've got to stay in pursuit mode because the minute you go to protect, you're done. You're done.
What's always interesting, and you don't notice this as much with the lady, I think, just because I take that back because Suzanne Pettersson is a good example where a little bit of ego and just her personality, she's a very aggressive type personality. But in the men's Ryder Cup, I look over the last several years, and there are certain players, Tiger being one of them, that don't tend to do very well. Again, on an individual basis, when they're playing in a regular event, Tiger's record stands for itself. Why is it some players are able to play well in that type of Solheim Cup or even Ryder Cup format, and other players have a difficult time? Why do you think the difference is there?
I believe they have a hard time with team.
Right.
I believe that, why is Ian Poulter so much better in the Ryder Cup?
Yeah.
He loves the hype. He loves playing for his country. He psychs himself up instead of down. Other people don't want to count on someone else. It's hard for them to play their own game when they're playing in a team match.
Yeah.
It's just different. I mean, you definitely have to know. And I believe that Julie did a great job with pairings with personalities, which, Paul Azinger started way back when at the Ryder Cup. You've got to put the right people together.
Right.
That zig and zag, that get along.
Well, yeah, and I remember back a number of years ago, and I think it was it Hal Sutton that put Tiger and Phil Mickelson together, which was everybody, eyes rolled and said this is not going to be a good match, and of course ultimately went through, or a good pairing rather, and of course was proven right. And I think that's who it was that did it initially. But and kudos to Julie Inkster, as I said at the beginning. What a not only phenomenal player in her own right, but yeah, she's again the equivalent really of what Paul Azinger did earlier on when he matched up. You have to get in. You have to know the personalities of the player. And you have to, be able to, put those egos aside. And she did a phenomenal job in doing the pairings this past weekend.
Yes, she did.
Now, Julie, yes, you've had the pleasure of being around Julie over the years. What do you think some of her strengths going into this event were that she took along the way?
Well, I think she has the ability to sit back and lead from a position of strength. Mm-hmm. I believe the girls they totally respect her.
Right.
She still plays on the LPGA Tour, and she came out and won the Legends Tour Championship at French Lick just 2 weeks ago. So to play in a tournament just a couple weeks ago, she's a real deal, so there is no second guessing. It's credibility, it's respect, it's experience, it's wisdom. We can go on and on and on.
Yeah. Well, and she's a very tough competitor, as I'm sure you've witnessed firsthand watching her play over the years, as I have. I mean, she's not one that makes a lot of mistakes, and if she does, it's so minimal that you almost don't even notice. And she's, if you were to rate her on a scale of 1 to 10 in mental toughness, where do you think she would rate?
10.
Yeah, I would have to say, and she can be. I think if you watch her play when she gets up in the lead like that, without really trying, she can be very intimidating. She's almost Tiger-esque, really, in a sense, because when she gets up there, players know that Julie Inkster is not going to, suddenly come crashing down. That they know that they've got to really step up their game if they're going to catch her or beat her. And obviously, she, as you said, she was successful at French Lick a couple of weeks ago, which is really phenomenal when you think about it, because here she is just a couple of weeks out from the Solheim Cup, and she's out there grinding it out with some of the best players in women's golf. Some true legends, and she wins.
Right.
So phenomenal player, and again, congratulations to Team USA for really what was a great win. And as I mentioned earlier, they were behind from out of the gate, and this was really a great comeback. The players, all did phenomenally well. And it just a true testament not only to the players but also to their leader and coach, Julie Inkster. Job well done, ladies.
Absolutely.
So what is getting back to you for a minute here? I know you've had a lot of things going on through this summer. What have you got coming up here in the weeks and months ahead?
That's a great question. We're going to get a brand new dome. And I'm excited about that. I'm going to have a granddaughter in November.
Oh, congratulations.
I'm very excited about that, yeah. The other thing is we are going to I've got a corporate event I need to do in Vegas, and then I'm going to San Antonio to the LPGA National Teaching and Coaching Summit, which I'm very excited about. Going to learn how to be better. And then I've got the Walgreens Charity Classic on the Legends Tour in November, and the LPGA Team Championship. So all kinds of stuff. And today, I need to we're taking over Facebook. It's Teaching Tuesdays on the LPGA. So I'm going to be on the LPGA Facebook page for an hour and a half this afternoon from 1 to 2:30 Eastern Time, answering any questions anybody has about anything having to do with golf.
Perfect. Well, what a great honor that will be. And I know that you will do a great job. And for those of you listening, make sure you go to the LPGA Facebook page. And during that time slot, we'll actually be there at any time, but particularly at that time slot, and give a great opportunity to pick the brains, if you will, of a true workhorse, really, in this industry. Cindy, as I've said this many times on the program before, and personally, you are really one of the hardest working women in golf. I mean, you're always on the go. I don't know how you do it, to be honest. You just seem to always have this energy, and even in the worst of times, you might be facing a cold or whatever may be happening. You always manage to pull it together and get out there and give it your best.
Well, thank you.
And I know Alan. I know Alan.
I'm a driven maniac. I can't help it.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to ask you something. We still got a few more minutes here before Tina comes on board. So what I wanted to ask you, because I know you've mentioned this many times over this past year, and I know you haven't had the opportunity to play as much as you have in previous years, so I know that's part of it. But you've really been trying to focus on your game and trying to find, some of the things. Do you think that this year you've been able to open up some new doors in your game that maybe you've struggled with over the years, or is it still a bit of a work in progress?
You know what, I really have, and I'm pretty satisfied. I played in the BJ's Charity Classic last week in Boston, where we raised $1 million in one day for the BJ's Wholesale Club Foundation. And I did not, I just got some new clubs, and the shafts aren't quite right, but my swing is good. And I think I've solved the puzzle. Wow. I'm not saying I've got it, because we don't ever say the worst 4 words in golf are I've got it now, because then you know that look out.
Yeah.
Thou shalt never think you have it. Anyway, but I feel comfortable. And I believe also, because I'm trying to do lots of new things, and there's seasons in your life, and the truth of the matter is the Legends Tour is finally catching hold, and there are lots of new people turning 45 who played on the LPGA Tour a lot longer than me, and they have much more higher status than I have. So my days of being able to participate are getting less and less and fewer, unless, of course, it's a Pro-Am, because I'm a lot of fun, so I get invited to Pro-Ams because I get paired with people who don't know how to play because I help them and I'm nice to them.
Right.
So again, my dream might have been to be a tour player star, but that's not my real gift. I've proven to myself that I can play and I can do it, but now my gift is to give back, and that's what I'm doing. So I feel okay.
Right, and that's something that's important, because you raise a very interesting point. There's a lot of good golfers out there. In fact, a lot of great golfers out there. But their gift may not necessarily be the next rising star on the PGA or LPGA or Legends and Champions Tour, respectively. That may not be in their wheelhouse. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't certainly try if they have a desire to do so. But they need to be, take a hard look at themselves and realize that, once they've done that a little bit, that may not be it. And in your case, you certainly have done very well in your career as a player, maybe not as well as you might have liked at times, but you've discovered that you have a gift of being able to help others find their best game, and that's huge. And it's
it is, and I don't think people realize. again, my distinctive competence with teaching is not teaching tour players. It's teaching beginners, anywhere, anybody from a beginner to a 3 or 4. I mean, that's where I can really help people. I'm not going to be famous for teaching tour players, but I'm going to change a lot of lives of normal people. And you know what? I'm proud of that.
Well, and as you should be. Something, too, that a lot of people, and I agree with you, I'm the same way. I mean, it's nice sometimes to say you have that feather in your cap of working with one of the top players in the world, but at the same time, that's only one person or maybe 2 people, if you're lucky. I'm like you. I would much rather change the minds and the physical sides of a lot of people's game, maybe thousands of people, and let them go out, because really those numbers multiply as people feel good about themselves and feel accomplished. They're going to go out and sort of spread the word, and that's really how you're going to grow the game. You're not going to grow the game by working with just 1 or 2 top players. You're certainly going to enhance your career, I'm sure, but you're going to change the game by letting these people know that, hey, there's some great people in the teaching side of golf, and I happen to be working with one of them, and that's what they're going to remember. And it's like working with a teacher at school. You always remember the good ones, more so really than you do the bad ones. So much continued success, Cindy, and I know you're going to change and help a lot of golfers out there and bring some new golfers into the game as well. Cindy, we got to move on. I see Tina is ready here, so let me just do a quick intro, and then we'll bring Tina on the show here. Tina Toombs is our guest this morning, and she is an LPGA professional. She was born in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, from my home country, of course, and but raised in Bedford, New Hampshire. She now calls Arizona home. 1980, started playing really at the age of 14, has competed nationally, internationally for over the last 5 years. She graduated from ASU with a BS in physical education and a minor in anatomy and physiology. She competed on the ASU's team, the Sun Devil Golf Team, which was a 2-time NCAA Collegiate All-American. She won the 1981 New Hampshire State Amateur Championship, the 82 New England Amateur Championship, the 84 Eastern Amateur Championship, and the Pac-10 Championship, as well as many others as well. And she was also all-conference team member. She qualified for the LPGA Tour in 87, and later won the 1990 LPGA Jamie Farr Classic and was runner-up in the 93 Sara Lee Classic. She began her teaching career, in 2000, and in 2004 she became the director of instruction as well as the president and CEO of Tina Toombs Golf LLC at the Arizona Biltmore Golf Club Resort and Spa in Phoenix. So without any further hesitation, tongue-tied this morning, here is Tina Toombs.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having
me. Up so early for us.
You're welcome. It was great. I set 3 alarms.
Well, the house is on fire, right?
yeah, it is almost on fire. No, well, it's so cloudy here because we're supposed to get rain, but usually the sun is shining and it wakes me up. But this morning, we don't have sun this morning, which is unusual for us. So, yeah, it's great. It's great to be up. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. I have my first question here. Okay. I've been to lots of different teaching seminars, if you will, with you, and congratulations on winning the Teacher of the Year last year. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's a great honor. I was fortunate enough to win it a couple years ago, and it really is nice to be admired for all the time and effort we put into our skills and helping our students, if you will. But one of the questions I have, because I know that you've got Flight Scope, right?
Right.
As do we. Tell me how you use Flight Scope and also partner that with your eyeballs of seeing where the ball goes and what the student's doing and how to help them improve.
Okay. first, I use it in a couple different ways. Of course, I grew up playing golf without any technology, and I think I think you did too as well, Cindy. Is that correct?
I did.
A lot of us did, and you know, when I was in college, I didn't use video. I didn't use flight scope. We didn't have any, you know, launch monitors or anything like that where we could use the numbers. So I'm very careful on how I use any of my Doppler radar information. But a lot of it I use for club fitting, for one. The second thing that I use it for is to help the student understand what the face of their golf club is doing, their impact position. Because, of course, the impact position is, I call it the moment of truth, right? And as long as our impact position is consistent, whatever consistent is per student, that will, you know, allow them consistent results. So I really use it for that. I use it for club face and path and angle of attack. They don't know all the numbers. They're not always looking at it. I don't show them all the numbers on my flight scope. I show them video. And then when I show them the numbers on the flight scope, I say, okay, you're too much inside or the face is too closed. And then I'll show them the video of what that is. And then we change the numbers by just saying, okay, your numbers are this, and let's try and get them to this. And that's how I use it. So it's very, very simple, if I will say, because now if I have a tour player I'm working with, I get a little bit more, you know, I'll be more, how do I want to put this? But I'll get more to the point. Okay, I'll be a little bit more exact. You know, you need to be here, here, and here. But just the regular recreational player, I don't think we want to get too technical. Because I don't want them out there playing, okay, I need to be here. You know, I don't want them out there thinking about positions as much because they don't know how to transfer it as well to the golf course. So that's how I use it.
I agree.
I'm not into...
I think it's too left brain, and they, you know, I don't want them to think as much when they're out playing. I think it's hard enough for them to be able to transfer what they're working on to the golf course without being too left brain.
Right. Right. And oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go ahead. Finish your thought, Tina.
No, go ahead. I was just going to continue on with the same thing. So go ahead.
What I was going to ask you was just this is Ted, by the way. I was going to ask you a follow-up
Hi, Ted.
question. Hi. One fellow Canadian to another. What I was going to ask you was a follow-up question to what Cindy said. A lot of the younger teaching pros out there rely heavily, not all of them, but heavily on some of this technology. And it brings to what Cindy's point was sort of finding that perfect marriage between the technology and what you learned years ago, you know, growing up in the game, not relying on or not having that technology available. Some of the young pros out there are using that technology so much that they don't even lift their eyes up from the screen. Number one, is that a bad thing, or is it just the way that things are right now? And what should they be doing to sort of balancing the technology out with really their teaching abilities?
Well, you know, here's and this is my take on it. But the younger generation has grown up with computers and has grown up with numbers, and you know I've been talking to people and they want to know why. They're very much a why generation. And I think, you know, they do get into the numbers and they're more involved with the computer. And that's what they're growing up with. Does it hurt? I think it hurts a lot of the students. I don't think it helps the students because they're not teaching all this 15-year-old kids that are 18-year-olds that are playing golf. They're teaching a lot of 50, 60, 70-year-olds that didn't grow up with it. So they're not quite in, you know, used to the transition of that. So does it hurt those kinds of students? I think it does, but I think it's there's a transition going on with the technology and the eye, and I think it would help them to to balance it out a little bit, because I think it's been a great learning curve for us as teachers, players even. Cindy and I are both players as well, but I think it's been a great learning curve for us, because we did have to learn and watch the ball and say, okay, this is what the ball's doing, must be what I'm doing. And so we had to get a lot more feel. We had to pay attention to the ball. We had to be creative. There was a lot of instinct in how we played, and a lot of the seniors on our Champions Tour and the Men's Tour and on our Legends Tour play that way, because that's how we were brought up playing the game. And I mean, a lot of my earlier career, that's how I played. And when I started thinking about how to do all this stuff, I got so messed up I couldn't even swing a golf club. Because everything came so instinctively to me. And I just kind of went back to that, even though I teach with video and flight scope, and I use, I have a pressure mat, and I use a body track and all that. I use it even for myself, very careful, so that I don't get caught up in it, because I know what it can do to me when I go play.
Sure.
So I think the younger generation, I think it would be good for them to learn how to get away from it a little bit.
Well, I always equate it to...
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, exactly, perfectly. I always equated... I had somebody on the show once, and we talked about this very same thing. And one of the things I always said is, and I'm all for technology. I think it's great. There's a definite place for it. But I'm kind of old school as well, and I think that, the technology certainly has a place, but it's really a tool for the coach or the teacher, more so than for the student. And I always equate it to this, what do you do when the power goes out or the batteries die with your technology? You have to be able to have something to back it up. And this is what I worry a little bit about with some of the young teachers coming up today, is because they're relying so heavily on this technology that they aren't able to do anything once that technology is switched off. So that's why I wanted to ask, your opinion on this and just get some thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, that's happened to me too, where my computer will crash, or not crash so much, but one camera won't work or something, and I'm thinking, gosh, what's the student going to think? And then I think, I panic, and I'm like, why am I panicking? I mean, I know exactly what to do, and I always tell the student, look, the ball will never lie to you. Whatever that ball is doing is exactly what you're doing. So as long as they understand that, and it's actually really kind of cool, because you get to interact more with the students have more fun. You can enjoy the lesson. I enjoy the lesson when I kind of put both together and we have fun. We look at video, we go back and forth. There's a lot more interaction and a lot more fun in the lesson than just standing there looking at video or standing there by TrackMan and posting numbers. I can't do that. That's not my personality. But when I'm not using a camera, or I just go even out on the golf course and do on-course sessions, I have so much more fun doing that than standing there with the video and technology, even though I use it in every lesson. And I use it for mostly myself, but because I like to just laugh and giggle a lot along my lessons, as well as say, okay, you're doing this, this, and this, and we need to do this, this, and this.
Right.
I like to have a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let me just ask one more quick question, and then Cindy, I'll turn it back over to you. Cindy had actually mentioned something a little bit earlier on in the broadcast about her gift. That she feels her gift really is her strong ability as a teaching professional. Now, she's obviously played as well as you've mentioned. What do you think your gift is?
Well, for me, I think that as I was playing, I think when I was playing on tour, I think I found out that I'm not a very I'm a very giving person. I found I wasn't a very selfish, not that being a tour player you have to be selfish, but there's a part of you that has to be very, I wasn't able to always think of myself and go play. I had so many things on my plate that I was always thinking about my kids or what was going on here, and I couldn't always just give 100% to me playing golf. The thing that I love about as a teacher, and the gift that I have as a teacher, is I just want to continually give to the student, and make them leave that session feeling 100% great about themselves and what they're accomplishing and falling in love with the game, more so than I ever loved it or could like it. I want them to have passion for what they're doing and find something really wonderful about themselves that they can just walk away and feel really good about themselves. And I feel like I do that in 95% of my lessons. If I don't feel like I achieve that, I actually will comp that lesson and say, come back and we'll try it again, because my goal is to make sure that every lesson is just surrounded by good feelings, good accomplishments, and good results, and the student feels like I want to really play this game and feel good about who I am when I leave that session, whether it's on the course, chipping, putting. And I feel like I do that, and I think that's the gift that I have, and the knowledge that I learned from the instructors that I have. I didn't realize what I was attaining as a player, because I asked so many questions. They just say, Tina, shut up and just do it. And I'm like, no, I want to know why. And I didn't know that back then. So I learned so much as a player that I'm able to teach my students. So I think that those are the things that I feel, the experiences that I had, I can give back.
Well, you want your students to feel special. You want each of them to feel special and not as though they're just another number going through the process. And I think that's important. And Cindy, that's pretty much how you feel, right, Cindy?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing I ask someone when they walk into my office, which is, on the range, why are you here? What do you want? And how can what do you want to feel, know, or do when you leave here today? If I can give you one thing, what do you want it to be? Right. And it's a lot of times they don't really know. And so my boundary, if you will, is I want them to know why they came, because if they don't know why they came, they don't know if they're going to get what they want. And a lot of times people say, well, I have to hit my driver farther. Well, let's talk about that. What do you shoot when you play? Oh, I don't even keep score. Well, let's just try to be more consistent and more comfortable. Oh, well, that would be great. And I think I teach a little differently. I probably created a bad thing up here. I'm almost the 30-minute quick fix-it queen, which I give a lot of 30-minute lessons. Being in Buffalo, I'm at a driving range at a big dome, and to be honest with you, I'm a little tired because I give a lot of 30-minute lessons. But I want to start to change that a little bit, and that's my issue that I have to deal with. But I like working with people who really want to get better, and I make sure that they know what they want before we start.
Right. I go through the same process. I ask them what their goals are and try and dissect exactly. We talk about where they're at, and if they're just beginners or if they're tour players or mini tour or wherever they're at, and what they want to get out of the session. Because if we don't have a focus for the session, then we're just I call it being a wandering generality. And so if we can be a little bit more specific in the session, then they they feel like they're getting productive and getting their it's time well spent for them as well. So you can have fun doing some in the session. You can still have a lot of fun. I mean, I talk about having a lot of fun, but we're also getting a lot of things done, because most of my sessions are an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. And we can do a driver session for half hour and then go do short game. So I split them up, but we always have a focus on everything we're doing, and then I always end the session in doing an on-course, somehow changing it to how do we take it to the golf course, and how do we apply it to playing, because I like them to be able to take it to the golf course and know how to transition that, whether they are just starting. We have some sort of session, 15-minute talk about how to play. So we follow, and in the LPGA we have our programs, our teaching programs, which help us, organize our lessons that way, which I think has been really helpful for
Absolutely.
us as teachers. Yeah. It helped me a lot to organize my lessons that way, and I think that's been really dynamic for all my students and myself, and probably all of us as teachers in the LPGA. Wouldn't you say, Cindy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cindy, go ahead. Do you have another follow-up question?
Well, tell us about your junior programs. Do you have junior programs?
We are. I have junior programs, and I'm actually just going to be going. I'm going actually in December or November. Sorry, to the U.S. Kids coaching certification class, coaching certification. But I do junior programs throughout the year. I teach a ton of juniors. I don't do a lot of clinics. We do them in the summer. At the Biltmore, there's not a lot of juniors. Most of the juniors live in the suburbs. I'm in Central Phoenix, and there's not a lot of juniors in my area, so we don't have a lot of juniors at the Biltmore. So I'm trying to build the program. I've had junior clinics the last couple of years, and we've had most of the kids that come are friends of mine that have grandkids and stuff like that come. We just don't have a lot of kids at the Biltmore, so that's been my focus, is to grow the program there.
That's awesome. You're going to love the U.S. Kids Golf Certification. That's just a great program.
Yeah, I'm excited. I follow their program. I've been following it. I just have not been certified in it, and I thought, I need to do that. And I have Amy Fruworth. I've been kind of helping her, and she's been watching me teach for about a year now, and I'm asking her to kind of run that program a little bit, but I'm going to go get certified and then send her in the spring to get certified so she can be certified in it and take over the junior program in the spring, because
That's
I want
awesome.
to have a really good junior program under Tina Toombs Golf, and I feel like she's really, really good with the young kids, and I think that would be a great place and great for us to have. So I'm going to go in November and get that done. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. Yeah. So that's my junior program. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I was going to say it's this is where you have to be, I guess, a little bit inventive. You're in a situation that you don't have a lot of creative in order to create a program, and that's fantastic. And that's really, in my opinion, the difference between just sort of plodding along and teaching golf and actually stepping out and doing things to create a platform, if you will, where there isn't one right now. As you indicated, at Biltmore, you don't have a lot of juniors, obviously, floating around there. So you have to create programs and do things to develop. And that's really where growing the game happens, is by teaching professionals like yourselves and Cindy that get out there and sort of step out of the box, if you will.
Right. Yeah, and the juniors, when you have juniors around, you're growing the game, whether you're growing it by the juniors or beginning golfers at the age of 20, 30, 40, 50. We want to grow the game, and I teach a lot of juniors. I just don't have a junior, I don't have 20 kids come all the time, because our course is we have so many groups that come in all the time in the hotel and stuff like that. So it's been tough to do, and it's an older, there's a lot of, it's an older kind of historical place. So we have a lot of people that come from all over the, I want to say even world, that come and stay there just to see it. So there's not a lot of kids. There's families that come during the holidays and stuff. And I was thinking, during the holidays, it'd be great to do a junior clinic.
Yeah.
And get people involved. My staff, my general manager and director of golf have just given me the okay, Tina, do whatever you want to do. You're fine if you want to. I have a section on the range. I'm allowed to close the range down, half the range, the green, whatever I want to do, they allow me to do. It's wonderful, whether there's a tournament or I can pretty much do, whatever I want to do. So it's been wonderful that they just said, we would love to have a junior program, go for it. Like, wonderful, because I asked them last spring, this is what I'd like to do, and they're like, go for it. Like, great, I'm excited.
That's great that they've got your back.
Yeah, they're wonderful. It's great. And when you have kids around, it's funny because everything is alive, right? Mm-hmm. Everything is alive. And even in the summer when it's 115 or 120 out here and the kids are out there playing, it's still fun. You just get water balloons and they start popping the balloons and they're having a blast and they're running everywhere and there's popsicles and it's still fun.
It is.
We did that.
It is fun.
Yeah, we had a blast this summer doing that, and the water balloons were a riot. I just had a lot of fun with them. So anyway, I just thought it'd be really a great thing to do.
That's because they still have so much energy. Unlike some of us, like myself, who get a little bit older and don't have the energy of some of these young juniors that you see. It does make it fun to watch them. With just it just sort of brings back some great memories. Tina, I wanted to ask you something. I before obviously coming on the program, I surfed through your website and saw a couple of questions I wanted to ask, because this is something I think that really a lot of amateurs struggle with, and that is really a proper practice routine. So what are I saw a question on there you had, what are your 3 steps to better practice? So what do you try to encourage your students to do in order to practice with a purpose?
Well, practicing with a purpose is, I believe, is what gets us to improve. When a student is out there just, I go back to being a wandering generality or meaningful specific in a way, but when you practice, if you have, let's say there's a part of your practice, let's say you have an hour of practice, you warm up, stretch, but when you get out there, you can practice on a technique for 15 minutes, put balls on a drill, do your drills, whatever your teacher or your instructor has asked you to do to improve your technique. But after, when you're doing that, whether it's you can do it working on your drills, or you can go and practice with a purpose on the green where you're doing competition drills, 5 balls, chip to a hole, trying to get 3 or 4 balls within 3 feet or 5 feet, depending on what your level of play is. You can always put your markers. I put tees out 3 or 4 feet from the hole so my students can chip balls within 3 or 4 feet, depending on what caliber of play they are. But when you're out there practicing, you're giving yourself something to practice towards, versus just out there hitting balls with no target or no goal. So when you're, and whatever the purpose is, it can be anything. It can be balance. It can be timing. It can be tempo. It can be, paying attention to your intentions. My intent is to keep the flag in my mind's eye, keep the picture of my shot in my mind's eye as I practice. So it's just practicing, having a purpose to go out there and get your job done, so that when you leave, you had something to work, you had your purpose out there, so you're not just going out there, I'm just going out there to hit 20 balls or 100 balls and don't even know why I went out and did it, because we don't ever get better doing that. It's really a waste of time. And if we're going to get better, we want to get better at playing golf, not just going out and loosening up and hitting balls. Because if we're just going to go out and hit balls, we might as well stay inside and just do mirror work, I believe.
Right.
And take some swings in. Because what changes the golf swing is really, you got to change your brain to change the patterns in your muscles. And people will say, well, I got to change my muscle memory. Well, it's not muscle memory. It's actually brain memory.
Right.
So you change the brain patterns to change the motion and the movement. So lots of times I'll say, just take practice swings. And they're like, why? And I when I was on tour, I was like, I'm not taking a practice swing. I'm just hitting the ball. I just wanted to hit balls. I was like, now I get it. I just wanted to hit as many balls as I could when I was a kid. And I'm like, that was the stupidest thing I could have done. But
yeah.
I just wanted to hit so many golf balls. And
right.
it just, I worked a lot with Debbie Cruz when I was at ASU, and she'd say, Tina, you don't need to hit as many balls. Just let your brain absorb what's going on. And, I didn't get it, but I get it. After so many years of being around her, I get it now.
We call that a delayed intelligence attack.
Yeah. Well, it took me a long time, Not only am I Canadian and I'm from New England, but I'm also French Canadian, and I got all kinds of things. I'm blonde. I'm a golfer. There's all kinds of things. I'm stubborn. I'm an Aries. But anyway, that's really the purpose. The purpose is practice with the purpose and find out what your purpose is and go out there and do it. And really, that's the job is done. And it doesn't have to be a 4-hour practice session. It can be, 25 minutes if that's all you have.
Well, and it raises an interesting point, Tina, because you're right on. When I was growing up as well, I would hit ball after ball, and because really there was nobody there at that time to really say, that was sort of the mentality back then. I mean, if you look at some of the older players, particularly, from the men's tour, that was kind of how they were raised. They would hit 1,000 balls a day, and there was really, in what we saw, there was really no purpose. They were just hitting balls to build that sort of memory and repetition. But now,
right.
Now we're starting to understand a little bit more as we get older that, it's fun to hit the golf ball, but you have to have a purpose behind it. And that certainly is going to help with your teaching. Let me ask you one final question, then we're going to unfortunately have to wrap it up. We know how to give a lesson, but how does the students out there, how do they take a golf lesson? What do they need to bring to the experience as well? What do they need to do to prepare for it?
Well, I ask my students, to first, when I do kind of an interview process before, if I don't know the student before they come to me. But if the student is new, I always ask them to give me a call. Sometimes I do online scheduling and stuff. But if they're new, I ask them to give me a call. And we talk on the phone. But if they can bring, here in Arizona, I provide water on ice, so they always have water. But I ask them to bring a glove, of course, in their golf shoes or sneakers. Bring your whole golf bag. Some students like to just bring 1 or 2 clubs. I like to see the whole golf bag because it teaches,
right.
It tells me a lot about the student. But I also like to know whether or not their clubs are fit for them.
Right.
Whether they work for them, that kind of thing. So you want to bring your whole golf bag. Keep your head. If you're outdoors, put a hat on. Those kinds of things. Most of the time, the instructor has golf balls, but sometimes, like at my place, my students all get a bucket of balls to warm up, and I have balls for the lesson. So that's all included in our session. But those are some of the things that I think are important to bring. And, bring your mind ready to learn. I mean, I think sometimes, we want to be stretched or loosened up, but also be prepared to be in a state of mind to learn, because it's a learning session.
Right.
Do you
want them to maybe have questions as well in their mind, or maybe jot down a few questions that they may have, and not just, how to fix my slice or how to hit the driver farther, but questions that are going to help them to understand their game a little bit better, like generalized questions? Is that something good that you like them to come prepared like that, or would you prefer them not?
No, that's definitely because I think that's important that they have questions and what's going on in their game, what they want to improve, what their ball's doing, have some knowledge of their own game so that they have some feedback for the instructor, what they want to do. Some of them don't really know. So sometimes the instructor has to kind of pull it out of them. But if they know, well, I hit the ball like this, I don't like it, as the instructor is there, the instructor sometimes can pull it out. Like I kind of do a little of that on that phone call. And then I do that at the beginning of the session and talk with them. And I just have them warm up. And I'm doing a lot of this while they don't even know I'm doing it. But they have questions. Sometimes when you're just communicating, they start asking questions. But if they're the type of person that wants to write down the question and they're very organized like that, then they should write them down and bring them in. But have questions, and I think it's really important that the instructor makes the student feel comfortable that they can ask all these questions. Make the environment comfortable for the student to be able to ask the questions.
Yeah, and you have to also, there has to be a comfort level. I think a lot of students sometimes can be especially newer students, can be very intimidated with that, that environment. So you have to do things, obviously, to make them feel relaxed and feel comfortable. And I think it helps to, you certainly don't want to be a jokester. You have to have a little bit of a sense of humor and be willing to laugh a little bit as an instructor and bring some fun to it, because it can be very, I know, like I do a lot of work with I teach as well. I do a lot of work with corporate people. And if I haven't worked with somebody before, I can tell right away that they're very nervous and very intimidated because, they're obviously struggling with their game and they're coming to you for help, and they don't know what to ask sometimes. They don't know how to conduct themselves. And you have to find ways of really sort of breaking the ice. So it's good to, number one, I think as an instructor, you need to be a very good listener, and listen to what it is that they're trying to get across. But you also have to find ways of bringing down that anxiety for the student as well.
Right. I mean, it's a fun interaction between the both, and the student, the more prepared the student comes and has questions, I think the more they get out of the lesson, and then as the instructor starts asking questions, it kind of feeds off of each other. They feed off of each other. And I think that the more prepared the instructor is to asking questions and kind of, seeing what the student, and that goes back to what the LPGA has trained us to do, I think, is ask those questions to find out what the student wants and needs and the goals that they want. Because by the questions that we've been trained to ask, we get a lot of that out of them without them even really knowing.
Right.
I feel that way. I don't know, Cindy, do you? I feel like a lot of the questions that we ask, the student doesn't really even, I get a lot of information that I don't know if I would have, how do you feel, what do you feel about this? And how do you sense about, I use a lot of those kind of words. If the student is a field player, I use different words to find out how they learn.
Absolutely.
What they do.
I ask them, if you had to go someplace you've never been before and you can't use GPS or your phone, would you want me to tell you how to get there? Would you want to read written directions, or would you want to look at a map? And they go, wow, that's a weird question. I said, I'm just trying to figure out how you think, And then they appreciate it because they realize you care about them. The lesson is not about me. It's about me helping you.
Right.
So.
And yeah, exactly. And it's like when they come with their whole bag and their bag is in perfect order, they're a very organized engineer type. When their bag and their head covers are gone and their bag is all a mess, that they're very creative. They're just everywhere. So the personality shows up in the golf bag.
Absolutely.
So
and what they have
those
on.
are things. What's that?
And what they're wearing, what their hair looks like, how they walk, what they do for a living.
Yeah, everything. So it's those are things that I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and the more prepared I guess the student comes to ask questions, the easier it is for us as well. And it goes back and forth, and that's the beauty of it. And I guess that's why I love it so much.
Well, it sounds like
I never thought I would love teaching.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
I really
it goes
didn't.
back. It goes back to what I was saying, what I asked you earlier, and what Cindy had brought up is about really finding your gift. And that's not to say that that you don't have certain gifts as a player, but I think that ultimately, because you are somebody who enjoys giving to others, this is a natural progression for your career is to move into the teaching side and being able to give back the knowledge that you gained as a player as well.
Yeah. And when I was playing, someone said, "Why don't you go into teaching?" I said, "I'm not going to be a teacher. There's no way I want to ever teach." And I was raising two daughters by myself, and I was back here in Phoenix, and I'm like, "What am I going to do?" And she says, "Tina, go give a golf lesson." I said, I'm not going to give a golf lesson. She goes, Tina, it was 1999. Go give a golf lesson. She goes, you need to do something. I said, okay, I'll go give a golf lesson. So one of my daughter's friends, her mother said, will you teach my daughter how to play golf? So I went and gave her a golf lesson, and then it started.
Yep.
And I was just shocked. There it was, that was 16 years ago.
And another career was born.
Yeah, it was.
Tina,
it really was. And so anyway.
Well, Tina, we want to thank Cindy and I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Unfortunately, regrettably, we're out of time, but we want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf show. And just for those that are tuning in, if they want to get a hold of you, you're at the Biltmore Golf Club Resort and Spa in Phoenix, Arizona. But you also have a website. Do you want to just let the listeners know where your website, how they can get a hold of you on your website?
Yeah, my website is tinatombsgolf.com, and Tombs is spelled Tombs, so it's tinatombsgolf.com. And my email is tina@tinatombsgolf.com, and all the information is on the website.
Perfect.
But I'm at the Arizona Biltmore Golf Club in Phoenix. So
perfect.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Cindy, thank you, and Tim, thank you very much, and enjoy your time back east there. I don't know what the temperatures are, but enjoy yourselves.
Well,
thank you
so much, Tina. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a great week.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Tina Tombs from the Biltmore Golf Club in Phoenix, Arizona. And on behalf of Cindy Miller and I, we want to thank you once again for joining us from all around the world, tuning into this broadcast. And we look forward to serving you with some good information and hopefully some good tips and some great conversation here on the Women of Golf show. Join us back again next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com's Women of Golf. Thank you, Cindy, as always, and I hope you feel better. And we look forward to seeing you back here again next week.
Have a great week. Thank you.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.